You're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all of the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to the middle of the week. Like right smacking right now, it's hump day. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, Big Rig's on the board. I think it's time to play the camel.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woohoo! Congratulations, you have made it halfway to the weekend. You are just about there, y'all. Here on this cloudy Wednesday afternoon, but at least the rain's not pouring down like it was, and I hope you guys had a good day so far. We got a great show laid on for you here on Camel Day, Hump Day, Rightside Radio. 3:30 today. Secretary of State Wes Allen is making waves. Oh my gosh, he's got the libs all fired up. He's not going to try and take Biden off the ballot, is he? We'll talk to Secretary of State Wes Allen at 3:30 and get the straight skinny on what is happening with the Democrat ballot in Alabama. And then at 4 o'clock, you know the deal. It's Wednesday. So at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays, we have this thing we do called the Grand Council, just a little old gathering of conservative talk radio hosts, myself, Jeff Poore, and Dale Jackson, ping each other with questions and just see where the chips fall. So, yep, the Grand Council with Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson, that is going to be at 4 o'clock today. And then I got a triple dipper just full of stuff, so hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So out the gate, first one, election bribes. Oh my gosh. Has there ever been any more pandering going on in D.C. like what we're seeing right now? How can I buy your vote? I'll give you something if you'll vote for me. Yeah, well, President Biden, despite what the Supreme Court has told him, has decided that it'd just be cool to show up and, pay off people's student loans. We'll talk about it. Number 1, Triple Dipper. I've even got a clip from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Brace yourselves. All right, number 2, election law matters. It does. Are we talking about election law matters, or are we talking about the fact that election law matters? Either way, it works. Election law matters, and we're going to talk about Alabama's laws, things that are happening. Brand spanking new legislation just passed through the state legislature. But then also, yesterday, Secretary of State Wes Allen made some waves when he just let it be known that the Democrats were running the risk right now of not getting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the ballot. What? Yes, he did. And now he, along with the Secretary of State of Ohio, are drawing fire because how dare they question the ballot? I don't know, pot calling the kettle black, I guess. But anyway, there's that. Election law matters, number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, follow the science. Oh, my gosh. Follow the science. Could we please follow the science? Could we just, listen, I'm going to give you the latest on, apparently, you may not have known this, but the moon is not really a solid entity. And, oh, by the way, transgenderism is in the animal kingdom because there's at least 18 different types of transgender animals. And wow. And then what about, climate change and where'd the acid rain go? And follow the science. Can we please just follow the science? Like, not when it fits your agenda, but follow the actual science. All right, listen, let me jump over here. Time for the Right Side Way opening monologue. I'll just remind you guys that Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that covers a lot of ground in North Alabama. Southern Immediate Care in places like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala, 6 more locations around the Birmingham area. They are all open 7 days a week. They will see all ages at every location. And yeah, Southern Immediate Care is the sponsor daily of the Right Side Way monologue. All right. There's a bill right now going through the state legislature, right? deals with things like drag queens, and like not grooming kids. Like if there's a reason why you want to be sexually perverse in front of children, how about you rethink yourself, because we're tightening up the laws, and we need to. We absolutely need to. It's amazing, too, how certain things have become acceptable and certain things have also fallen from acceptance. I mean, culture has a way of shifting with the winds, and it's not always a good thing. The fickle whims of culture should never be a measuring stick for what is right. If it were, the left would have trashed the Constitution years ago. I remember that both my grandfathers were smokers. They were. It was from an era in which smoking cigarettes was just the thing. I remember that they both had strokes in their later years, and they both quit smoking overnight. But my maternal grandfather on my mom's side, he smoked Bel Airs. I remember that the packs all came with a Raleigh Bel Air coupon. If you saved them up, you could buy some pretty cool stuff from the Raleigh Bel Air catalog. My paternal grandfather, on the other hand, he smoked filterless Camels. They were rough. Don't ask me how I know. It's not like I never snuck a smoke or two out back of the house when I was 11 years old or something silly like that. I mean, come on. But my granddaddy, on my dad's side, he smoked those Camels regularly, but Granny made him sit out on the porch and not smoke them inside. Both brands marketed their wares to just the kind of men that my grandfathers really were. The Bel Airs that my grandfather on the mom's side smoked were endorsed by movie tough guy Lee Marvin, but yet they had kind of a sharp image and a progressive futuristic logo. Just right for my grandfather, who was an Army general and engineer who worked on missiles and the original hydrogen bombs. Camels, on the other hand, were tough and no-nonsense, filterless, and kind of a working man's smoke. Also fitting then for my grandfather on my dad's side, who was a steel worker and grew up in a big family in the hardscrabble Depression-era South. Now, marketing is everything, right? And cigarettes are really no different than any other product in trying to find a way to appeal to a broad audience in a competitive market. And in that vein, along came a suave and debonair dude. The guy that every guy wanted to be like. He had all the ladies, all the cool factor. He drove the best cars. He was like James Bond, the Marlboro Man, and Audie Murphy all rolled into one. He was also a cartoon character, designed to sell cigarettes. And his name was simply Joe the Camel. So Joe Camel was the branding mascot for Camel cigarettes. He was first used in Europe in the mid-'70s, but he burst onto the U.S. advertising scene in 1988. Immediately became one of the most recognized advertising images. At one point, the Journal of the American Medical Association conducted a study and found that Joe Camel was instantly recognizable by 91% of all children who participated in the study, second only to Mickey Mouse. And the same children associated Joe Camel with cigarettes. Within 3 years of Joe Camel becoming synonymous with Camel cigarettes, another study concluded that Camel's underage smokers had grown in number by 38%. Okay. In 1992, a San Francisco attorney filed suit against R.J. Reynolds Tobacco, the parent company of Camel, alleging that the Camel was in fact targeting underage citizens with the sole intent of increasing market share among teens. Okay, within the text of the suit against the tobacco giant was the allegation that Reynolds Tobacco had grown their profits from underage smokers from $6 million to $476 million in just 4 years. Democrat California Congressman Henry Waxman, he pressed Congress to take action, which resulted in the Federal Trade Commission conducting 3 separate investigations over several years, eventually resulting in a finding that R.J. Reynolds had unreasonably and knowingly targeted underage citizens. But then the smoking gun emerged. In the mid-'90s, an older 1974 R.J. Reynolds internal marketing department presentation, the very first section in it, dealt with targeting young voters ages 14 and up. Yeah, it did. It talked about, quote, the growing importance of the young adult in the tobacco market, that this age group would represent 27% of the adult market by 1975. It said that, quote, these are the smokers of tomorrow. Wow. So in 1997, R.J. Reynolds retired Joe the Camel. They went back to more mundane and historical images of a simple, more true-to-life representation of a camel. Joe the Camel outraged the authorities. His influence on children was seen as dangerous. The intent of having a likable, cartoonish mascot was simply to cultivate a strong first and early impression and to create what R.J. Reynolds' own study designated as the smokers of tomorrow. Isn't it amazing, though, I mean, don't you wish that the worst thing upon us these days was the idea of a cartoon camel encouraging kids to smoke? I find it deeply disturbing that in my lifetime, it was a lawyer and a congressman, both from California, who saw fit to lead a charge against a major corporate entity because they felt the corporation was enticing kids, trying to lure kids into a lifestyle, literally grooming kids to be the next generation of smokers. And yet now we have drag queens performing at so-called family-friendly events, and we're told that to question it is like tantamount to domestic terrorism. Parents and citizens who dare to question, complain, or worse yet, protest against the idea of men cross-dressing and hypersexualized women's clothes with exaggerated female characteristics. I mean, like literally lampooning and objectifying women. Dancing provocatively while making lewd remarks. That somehow to oppose that distorted behavior is like a gross affront to the rights of the gay community. Never mind the simple fact, a fact that requires very little effort to mentally assent to, that parents should always be wary of men who dress as women and dance and speak provocatively to children. Just saying. There's nothing normal or comfortable about any of it. And yet they come, often by invitation, to schools and libraries and community centers, and they host drag queen story hours. And has anyone ever asked why the makeup is needed to read stories? I mean, if you're not really about the reading, just say so. But everyone knows that they're doing it for the simple and clearly stated purpose of grooming the next generation. They are attempting to normalize abnormal and unhealthy behavior. How do I know this? Because they say so themselves. It's no secret. You can see the mission statement on the national website of the organization of the Drag Queen Story Hour, and it reads this way. You ready? Quote, "Storytellers using the art of drag to read books to kids in libraries, schools, and bookstores. Drag Queen Story Hour captures the imagination and play of the gender fluidity of childhood and gives kids glamorous and positive and unabashedly queer role models. In spaces like this, kids are able to see people who defy rigid gender restrictions and imagine a world where everyone can be their authentic selves." End quote. Look, the concept of being a role model is to encourage others to emulate behavior, to follow the example set by the role model. In short, the leadership of Drag Queen Story Hour admits that their sole purpose is to create the next generation of drag queens. So ask yourself, how is this any different than Joe the Camel? And yet, holy smokes, pun intended, how I wish that Joe the Camel was all that we had to worry about. Have we as a nation gone so far down the path of depravity and indifference that we don't see the irony in knowing that Joe the Camel is considered bad, but men dressed up as women performing sex acts in front of children is not? Joe the Camel, he's got nothing on drag queens, and he's probably less harmful. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, I mean, the more I thought about it and did the research on it, the idea that just not so long ago, Joe the Camel was considered like harmful to children. How dare you groom children to be the future smokers? And now we got Drag Queen Story Hour projecting themselves as the role models for the next generation of drag queens. It's messed up, and it needs to stop. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. I mean, like making it cool to be a conservative. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. You can call it or text it, same number for both. Give me your thoughts on that. Joe the Camel. Do you remember Joe the Camel, by the way, Big Rig?
I do.
I
do.
Yeah.
I do.
Didn't you say somebody? Oh, your
my dad.
Your dad had a Joe the Camel T-shirt.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And, it was very cartoony, I remember.
He was cartoony, and it was actually very cool. I'll be honest.
Yeah, he had sunglasses.
Yeah, he always like had like the James Bond look, fast cars, and smoking that cigarette, looking cool, doing it.
Yeah.
But it is amazing though when you stop and think about it that literally we had legislators and lawyers just lining up to just have at R.J. Reynolds. How dare you have something that attracts children? And then, and proved that they actually were literally trying to make the next generation of smokers. And now we got drag queens, and they can literally say on their website, we're trying to be role models, which means you want to bring people up to, to be the next generation. It's a mess.
We need some lawyers fighting for us for that.
Yeah. And
that's where you come in, Phil. Aren't you a lawyer?
I'm for it. Just listen, I'm for it. I'll fight that fight all day long. See, John from Harvest says, Phil enjoyed the monologue. Seems there's always people trying to ignore tried and true wisdom. In summary, History of Man Part 1 says, what can it hurt? History of Man Part 2 says, how are we supposed to know? Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how about History of Redneck Man Part 1? Here, hold my beer. History of Redneck Man Part 2. I didn't see that coming. That's my interpretation. John from Huntsville. Phil, fantastic monologue. Happy hump day to you and Big Rig. Also, I was just wondering if Big Rig finishes Turbo Thursday sound effect. Amazing you should ask that.
It'll be ready for tomorrow.
We were just talking about that right before the show.
Yep.
I'm pretty stoked about what he's got going on, brewing up something for Taco Tuesday, too.
Yep.
It's like sound effect madness around here.
Yep.
How many buttons do you have over there now for sound effects? Are they all full?
I've got a whole other page now.
like the buttons have dual uses now?
Yep.
That's crazy. Jeff from Indiana says, hey, Phil, since we're grooming children, maybe we ought to have decorated soldier story hour. If you're leaving a role model, if you're needing a role model, I can't think of anything better. That's a great point. You know what? Why not? Why don't we have police officers and firemen and, paramedics and, military members put on their dress uniform and go meet with kids and read books to them about heroism and courage and character and loyalty and faith. I mean, yes. All right, Jeff, you're on to something. You know what? Maybe we ought to start a movement. We'll just call it
I like that idea.
Hero Story Hour. I like it. Hero Story Hour.
Yeah.
All right, you heard it here at 2:28 p.m.
You said it first, Phil.
I did.
Hero Story Hour.
If they say it on another radio show here in Alabama and try to put it on a T-shirt, I'll know something's up. But yeah, Hero Story Hour. I mean, you know what? I actually like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I like that a lot. John from Brownsboro says, I smoked Camels, grew up watching commercials about Camel versus Marlboro Man before they were shut down from advertising. I just watched a commercial for CBD products, and it didn't even have a Surgeon General's warning. They can take the reins, as they proved, or they can get out of the way and reap what they've sown. Well, brother, it's a strange new world we're in there, John. I'm telling you right now. John from Brownsboro. Morgan from Fort Myers, Florida, says, I happen to be one of those underage smokers, but that was before Joe the Camel days. I just remember my dad collecting camel bucks to get something pretty cool, and now I'm wondering what you get with your drag queen bucks.
Oh, I remember camel bucks, too.
Yeah, the things you can get with drag queen bucks are not the things that we need to talk about on this radio show, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
definitely not.
So camel bucks, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, my granddad got Raleigh coupons, Raleigh cigarettes, Bel Airs, and you can get some good stuff with that.
Yeah, I remember my dad got like a duffel bag or something.
And then brand spanking new in the text line, we've got Lori from Trinity. Lori, we're glad you're here. And Mike is my husband's name, she said. It's my job to remind him that my birthday is today. So I pulled the Mike, what day is it? Happy birthday to you, Lori. All right, we'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, y'all. I'm talking about Alabama. Alabama. Oh, man, this show goes like way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. I got a couple more texts that I got to take before I can move forward. Allie from Athens, listen, I just sent this to Moms for Liberty. I just sent this to Emily Jones at Moms for Liberty. I said, I think this Hero Stories Hour, this could be a thing. This
I can see it being a thing.
I can see it being a thing, man. And you do it based on your community. You know, you've got military members and you know, from the Guard, the Reserve, and the active duty of all branches who live in the community, put on their dress uniform. First responders, firemen, police officers, paramedics put on their best uniforms, come on down there and read to kids. Maybe we could collaborate with Brave Books, you know, the great kids books that are being written now by conservative Christian authors. I could see this being a thing, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Good idea.
Allie from Athens, she says, Hero Story Hour. Me likey. Appreciate it. Got a brand spanking new texter from Hackleburg. Benji from Hackleburg says, new texter here. Benji from Northwest Alabama. Going back a day or two to the Monday music sound effect. How about the Imperial March from Star Wars? Just a thought. Yeah, that's
Hey, that's a good idea.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, might do that.
John from Brownsboro, again, he says, with regards to the Joe the Camel, and they got rid of him, he said the beginning of the end was an advertisement of Joe the Camel playing lawn darts. It also killed lawn darts. Do you remember lawn darts? Did they go kind of away before you began?
Probably. I don't really remember.
I look at that and think, who thought this up? Picture a dart the size of your forearm. A dart, like a sharp-pointed dart the size of your forearm. And you put a hula hoop out there on the ground, and then kids ostensibly stand back like 20 yards and throw it in the air, and it's weighted so that it points down and it comes fall, and you try to land it in the ring. What could go wrong?
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you got knothead kids like me who realize you can throw them at all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're throwing them and they're like going through car doors and sticking into your friend's leg and, you know, the neighbor's cat and who knows what else.
Yeah.
Lawn darts. That was the most. They've switched them out. And now it's like, you know, that's why cornhole took over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cornhole's pretty cool.
Cornhole's good.
Yeah.
Cornhole's safe.
Yeah.
Lawn darts. Cameron from Decatur says, how about we read Rush Revere books? Those are good. Those are really good. Said, I read in 1819 that it was one of the titles that was being pulled by the libs from our libraries. No kidding. I had not seen that piece. Yeah, you know what? I did see that article, as a matter of fact. Rush Revere was just, I mean, it was good. I think Rush Limbaugh was one of the first to get out there with that kind of, you know, appeal to the kids with stories of patriotism and make it appealing to their age groups. Anyway, Raven from Russell says, Colonel, I don't consider myself a hero, but I'll read to kids anytime. Raven, you get that uniform out of that chest, man, and bring it on down there with you. You look smart, I guarantee you. All right, let's do this. I'm going to jump on in to the first dipper. I got it right here, a stack of them. Calling this election bribes. I don't know if you saw it or not. I'd heard it was coming. We all heard it was coming. It was like the worst kept secret in Washington, D.C., that once again, Joe Biden was absolutely 100% going to make sure that the Supreme Court of the United States of America knew that he was really in charge and that, you know, 3 branches of government, silly. Who needs 3 branches of government? Why should I listen to what the Supreme Court says? Why should I wait for Congress to act? I'd just do it myself. So what is he doing now? Well, it's just a repeat performance. It's like he's put the whole thing on loop and it just keeps playing over and over again. He's trying to forgive student loan debt. Ah, for the love. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a beef with this in a variety of ways. I got a beef with this as a constitutional conservative. I've got a beef with this as a fiscal conservative. I've got a beef with this as a guy who had to work his way through college on a scholarship and then, oh, by the way, use the GI Bill to go to law school, which, by the way, I also had to go overseas and fight to earn. So I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that are like, so you're doing what now? You're forgiving the $40,000 in debt that Joe Blow got when he got his underwater basket weaving degree from Do Nothing University. And because he can't earn a living now, you're just going to go ahead and say, no, never mind. Meanwhile, we got, Mr. Everyman over here, or every woman who didn't go to college or chose to work their way through college because they didn't want the debt. Or for that matter, maybe they went and started their own business. They got out of high school and they got in the trades, and next thing you know, they're buying a van and some tools and they got their own plumbing business. Who's going to forgive their debt? They borrowed the money to get their first business started. Do we forgive that? Probably not. Oh, in fact, those people are the ones who are going to pay off the college debt. Yeah, because it's not free. It's not. And you know what's crazy? Some of the stuff I'm going to read to you in a minute about the details of this, it is literally designed so that you don't even have to apply for it. You just wake up and the debt's gone. It's like Santa Claus showed up. The debt forgiveness fairy came during the night. It's awesome. Story here on thehill.com. The Biden administration announced new student loan plans Monday that would provide relief to millions of Americans if finalized. The proposed plans would largely affect those with what they call, quote, runaway interest, as well as borrowers who've been paying on their loans for 20 years. 20 years. My gosh. Qualify for forgiveness under income-driven repayment plans and those experiencing hardships. Oh, that's the catch-all, by the way. Hardship. What's going on? What's hard? It's just, it's hard times. You're right. Forgiven. What's your hardship? I just like to sleep later. Oh, okay. Forgiven. It's going to result in at least 25 million Americans getting relief from the balance growth that was garnered by unpaid interest, with 23 million seeing their full balance growth canceled. Unbelievable. The administration wants to give relief to those who are enrolled in, okay, here's a term for you. Are you ready for this? I had to pull two articles to figure out what this really meant. Where's the other one? Where is it? Low financial value education programs. What the heck is that? Low financial value education programs. It means degrees that suck and you can't make a living after you got all the time and energy spent into getting the diploma. That's what it means. That's exactly what it means. In fact, here's the other article. I pulled this off Fox News. Those who attended college programs of, quote, low financial value would be eligible for forgiveness. The plan would cancel the debt for borrowers who went to institutions that lost their eligibility. It would also cancel loans for people who went to college programs that left them with low incomes compared to their student loans. You know what that means? That means you were a chucklehead and you literally did get the underwater basket weaving degree. And there's no money to be made in underwater basket weaving. And so now what do? It's underwater basket weaving. There's very few people looking for the next line of, there's no money to be made in underwater. Are you playing me back on that? No. But so listen, I have no idea how they justify themselves doing this, but good Lord. Are you about to play a sound effect? You're like over there trying to find a button. What's going on?
I was trying to find the last sound effect, but it's gone. It disappeared.
I'm laughing for you now. Okay, so this is happening right now. It's going to be challenged. In fact, you know what? I got another article here. Today, which is the day after he did this, the lawsuits have already been filed. But Phil, why would they care? It's just trying to help people. Why would people want the help to stop? Because we don't want to pay for it. That's why. Because you're jeopardizing the revenue of the states. You're jeopardizing the revenue of the banks in the states who were carrying the debt and were projecting it as part of the payoff programs they were going to. That's how they stay in business, y'all. They don't make money by giving it away. They make money by having you pay it back. And when you just wipe it out and forgive it, there's like billions of dollars went away. How about this? There are whole programs out there where if you will come to work at like the state of so-and-so, I think the state of Kansas does this, and maybe the state of Alabama. If you'll come to work in a government job and you'll stay there for 10 years, they will agree then to pay off your student loan. They don't forgive it. They pay off your student loan debt for having served the state. Makes it harder now for the state to recruit people. Awesome. It's just, it just goes On and on and on. Plus, it just, you know what it does? It encourages people to have no accountability or responsibility. That's what it does. It literally encourages people to just not care about the consequences of their own actions. You chose a silly degree. You chose to sign up. And by the way, this is a contract. How many of you would like to have your car loan forgiven?
I'm good. I buy used cars. So.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
I've never bought a new car in my life.
Well,
because I try to avoid being in debt like that.
Fine. Great. Good for you. But do you think you ought to pay off other people who didn't do that?
No, definitely not.
Okay. So if your neighbor drives a Mercedes and you chose to drive something economical, and your neighbor says, I can't sustain this. I don't know why I did this. And then someone comes along and goes, it's okay. We're going to let Big Rig help you pay it off.
No, I'm good.
I agree. That's what this is.
Don't be a chucklehead.
Don't be a chucklehead. Don't be a chucklehead like that. All right. When we get back from this, though, I'm going to tell you, the queen of chuckleheads is about to give you an audio clip. Because the queen of chuckleheads, who is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's so excited about this. So excited. She's like giddy. Like, oh, this is going to be the coolest. Because people are going to get to do stuff they can't do right now. And so this is a member of Congress, by the way, who just sees no downside in this whatsoever. Why would we not do this? It's important. We have to relieve people of their financial distress. That's what government's for, to rescue you. Yep, Uncle Sugar to the rescue. All right, let's take a break right now. We'll come right back, and then, yep, I got a sound clip that's going to just make you mad as AOC tells you how wonderful this is going to be. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. I mean, like making common sense like a superpower. Got another brand new texter. Brad from Athens says, Rush wasn't the first. Adventures in Odyssey. I remember that from Focus on the Family. Had a similar format where kids went back in time to talk to heroes of the past. I remember. You know what? I think we bought some of those for our kids. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. Welcome to the text line. I got a caller on line one. I'll take that real quick. Ron from Tony, Alabama. Hey, Ron, how you doing?
Hey, Colonel. Doing well. Yourself?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
I'm the guy that called you about a year ago about right side socks. What would I do with the left side?
Okay.
But I'm retired military like you.
Yeah.
And I paid my I got a degree before I went in the military. I put a student loan. I paid it off. I paid my son's student loan off. And I got a little business. And one of the things I've noticed, you talked about paying off car loans. I see some of these young people coming in cars that I can't afford to buy right now.
Yeah.
So I figure they're using part of the student loans to buy these big cars. So I was just going to tell you, I think you hit it right on the head when you said pay off student loans. Pay off cars.
That's, you know what, you're spot on probably, because I'm about to play a clip from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and that's pretty much what she's encouraging people to do, is to be able to go out and buy the things they can't buy right now otherwise, and use the student loan money they would have been paying back. Yeah, appreciate it, Ron. Hey, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your service too.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. So let's do this. I got a piece here from Breitbart. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known to be a sage of wisdom herself. You know, she's the one who can step in there and just put it all down on the bottom shelf where the baby goats can get to it. She is not afraid to just go ahead and say the inside words like outside words. And let's just take about a minute and 45 seconds to hear the most inane things you've ever heard from AOC. Go ahead and play it.
Hey, everybody, look at here.
Stephen Colbert Show.
Made good. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Today, the White House announced plans for a new student debt relief program that you personally worked on, right?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So there are over 40 million student loan borrowers in the United States. Today, President Biden just unveiled a plan to offer relief in some way, shape, or form, either complete or partial, to 30 million of them. 30 million student loan borrowers are going to start seeing relief.
Just because I know how recently this was you, are you one of the people who will benefit from this program?
Now, I don't think I will be. Actually, I'm going to be one of the few that doesn't. I'm a member of Congress. I'm a little bit outside the threshold and bounds. But if I wasn't, just a few years ago, waitress me 5 years ago would have benefited from it. Congresswoman me will not, but that's okay. I'll take the knock if it means that that people can get relief. And, this is huge. This is people getting the student loan forgiveness, their student loans canceled. It means that, it's hope to buy a house or have a kid or travel abroad or maybe even go back to school and pursue a career that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have. One of the reasons that's not me now is because I didn't feel like I'd be able to afford medical school. And so hopefully someone else who's at an ISEF competition somewhere will be able to do that because of this.
Okay, stop it. Stop it right now. I can't stand it anymore. First of all, I just got to say, is anybody inspired by the idea of having her be your medical practitioner? Just saying.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Yeah, this is nuts. But what she just said, she gave it away. It's not about bringing relief to people. It's about trying to give them stuff. And now they can go out. And what does she say? They can go out and maybe now they'll be able to buy a house. Maybe now they'll be able to have a kid. What? Yeah. Maybe now they'll be able to, travel abroad. That is not at all the reason why. So if you're telling me that the Biden administration is there to bring relief to people who are oppressed, make the case. But don't go on Stephen Colbert's show, suck up to the host, and glibly say This is going to be so cool because now they'll get to do stuff like, I don't know, maybe they'll get to have a kid. Like they can't have children without their student loans being paid off. Or maybe they'll get to travel abroad. Well, that's why I want to pay their bill so they can take that trip to, Cozumel they've been looking for. That's just the most, listen, it's the height of stupidity. She is, can I have some jackassery, please? Just give me some jackassery. Just lay it on thick. Thank you very much. All right, so didn't Biden get shut down on this? Yes, he did. He did. And we're going to wind up taking this through the top of the hour, but I'll start off by telling you, is this different from his first plan? Not really, but yes. He's trying to find a new angle to get to the same place. So he was told by the Supreme Court, you cannot do this. The court called it an overstepping of his authority. What does that mean? He does not control the power of the purse. He cannot just simply unilaterally, with a stroke of his pen, do away with contractual obligations for 40 million people. Can't do it. But I'm the president. They said I was the president, and I know I can do stuff. So he's going to do a new way. So now what he's doing is he's found some niche within the law for the Higher Education Act, which allows the Secretary of Education to waive student loan debts in certain cases. So now, oh, great, Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona is going to wind up, the guy who's like all about transgenders and female sports and, and making sure that education teachers unions get the upper hand. That guy is going to be making all the rules now about how we do away with debt. Meanwhile, that degree in underwater basket weaving is still useless. So now what? More on this when we get back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all of the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 already. Hour number 2, like hour number 1 just went phew, gone. But let me. I tell you what, we got a phone call, but I'm going to go to the text lines first, get a couple of those, and I'll come back to the phone. So let's see real quick before I run out of space on those. John from Harvest says, we were told up and down that college graduates made more on average than people that didn't. Anyone else notice the irony of the lower on the earnings, average earnings paying off the college debtors? Okay, I know what he's trying to say. The irony. You're right. Absolutely. Thank you, John. Gary from Decatur says, maybe Biden ought to look into forgiving mortgage debts that are 20 years old, too. That should lock up the 2024 election. There you go. I mean, hey.
That's smart.
Yeah. I got into this radio gig. I thought it would pay a lot. It sure doesn't. And now I need my mortgage paid off. Can we do that, please?
Now we
That's
can live
awesome.
our life and have babies and
Great.
travel abroad.
Travel abroad. Let me go to the phones. Is that Jeff Rowe from Indiana? Jeff, what are you doing, buddy?
4 words.
Uh-oh.
Rightside Children's Reading Program.
I like it. I like it. We're going to call it Heroes.
That's
The Hero Story Hour.
a hero's, yeah, hero story. Well, you can start it out. You've got a big presence here in Alabama. Start it out here and get your volunteers lined up for libraries, churches, after-school programs. Just anywhere that even in civic halls and stuff like that.
Listen.
And get your people.
Just me and you talking here, right? Just me and you. I've already texted Moms for Liberty, and we're excited about the idea. I'm just saying. No, don't tell anybody yet, but we're working on something.
Oh, okay.
We're not on the radio.
But I was a little afraid after I said that a while ago because I got to thinking that if we're going to have military personnel, the only military personnel that's not deployed is the trans-military people, and I don't think we need them to read anything. Oh, boy.
Yeah, jeez. Oh, well, you know what? We'll just take them as they come, bro. Yeah. Well, what do you think about student loans? You ready to get yours paid off? Oh, wait, you've already paid yours off.
I never had one to start with.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your text. I went to your text right as you were saying that. Oh, you paid off your Jeep.
No.
Oh, well, gosh.
Yeah.
Why'd you do
I'm
that?
looking for somebody to pay for my accessories.
Oh, well,
Because as you know, the accessories cost more than the vehicle itself.
I do know. Yeah, there's quite a few things that I'd love to have tacked on to my Jeep, but darn, that's like 4 months worth of truck payments just to get it done. Nonetheless, I mean, I look at this and think AOC, I mean, she wasn't even pretending. It was not about people need the relief. It's hard being an American right now. What she just flat out said was, we want them to have more folding money. We want them to be able to go out and do some stuff. We want them to have kids. Like the people, I want to know how many people out there are choosing not to have kids because of student loans. What's the over under on that?
I don't know, but whenever she said about going to medical school, I don't know about you, but I'd chip in on getting her sent to medical school right now. Because but then I rethought my thing. I thought, well, maybe she can work in her district, and it would thin the herd there a little bit, probably. But then I got to remember that you can vote Democrat whether you're alive or dead, either one, so it doesn't really matter.
Dang, man, we can't win with her.
Yeah, the dead have more mail-in votes than the living, I'm thinking, probably.
So she can do no harm to her cause, is what you're telling me. Wow.
I think she can still get elected, and whether there's anybody alive in her district or not.
Holy cow. Jeff, did you ever think we'd see this kind of crap on a daily basis? I mean, I just look at it and think, it's like the world is standing on its head right now. And we're sipping tea at the Mad Hatter's Tea Party.
I think I know how Jeff can pay off his Jeep.
Exactly.
Get his degree in gas station fish frying or something.
Oh, yeah. Underwater basket weaving, gas station fish frying. We can do it. I see it.
That's right.
All right.
Well, my fish are only $5 for 2 good pieces of fish. Cheeseburger cost me $7.
Well, but don't worry.
I'm saving money.
Inflation is coming to a truck stop near you. All right, man. You on the way south or north right now?
I'm passing the brand new Tennessean truck stop that just now got open here not too long ago. It's a nice place.
All right. Well, be safe on the road, brother. We appreciate you.
Have a good one, Phil.
You too. Bob from Athens says, I'm surprised AOC didn't say that they could afford more abortions. You know what? That's exactly what you expect from her. Daniel from Tullahoma says, only Congress can wipe out debt, Phil. Yes, I agree. That's why I'm saying, yes. Jeff from Green Hill, how is debt canceled that taxpayers are still responsible for? Isn't that debt transferred? Thank you. Thank you very much. Jeff from Green Hill gets applause. Go ahead. And he just hit the redistribution of wealth. That's right. You are correct, Jeff. You nailed it. And then Raven from Russellville again says, Jeeps are like Harley-Davidson bikes. If you're going to use it, you're going to work on it. Yeah, brother, that's exactly right. All right, let's finish this up. Don't forget, by the way, coming up bottom of the hour, we got switch gears, and we're going to have Secretary of State Wes Allen calling in. So in the next few minutes, let me just put a few more, nuggets on this discussion. Is this a sure thing? Is he going to get it done? Not necessarily. There are already lawsuits being filed. I've got a piece from the AP right now that says that the day after he did it, which would be today, or actually Tuesday, that Republican states began filing suit. Led by the state of Missouri, 7 states immediately filed a lawsuit, and I would expect that more will follow. It's unbelievable. Quote here from the Attorney General of the state of Missouri says, yet again, the president is unilaterally trying to impose an extraordinarily expensive and controversial policy that he could not get through Congress. And they outline the ways that various states wind up having to pay for it or lose because of it, or the fact that it's just a redistribution of, payment plans, which is really a redistribution of wealth. So is it a done deal? No, it's not. But it makes for a great soundbite when your numbers are super low and you're trying to run for president. So, hey, here's another piece too. Do I need to apply? According to this article on Fox, most of the cancellations will be done automatically with no need to apply. The debt cancellation fairy shows up at night while you lay sleeping comfortably in your bed. Fear not, don't worry. He's here. Sprinkles that little debt repayment dust and voila, you wake up and you're debt-free. What else have I got just to wrap this thing up? I guess, the last thing I'll say is, piece here from the Federalist is what gave me the name for the Dipper today. I call this election bribes. And that's exactly what the Federalist says. In a piece that came out yesterday, Biden's latest student loan bailout has election year bribe written all over it. It's a multi-billion-dollar election year bribe delivering a shaky middle finger to the Supreme Court, says the Federalist. They talk about, too, how the liberal media just rushed in there to go, oh, is it wonderful, just gushing over it. Only one of them, the New York Times, dared to finally say, officials have not been able to say how much the new plan will cost in coming years. Okay. What did Biden say here? He says, today, too many Americans, especially younger people, are saddled with unsustainable debts in exchange for college. Look, here's the bottom line, and I'll be serious here. As an attorney, I can just tell you that a full measure of what I had to go through in law school and then pass the bar exam and what I practice even today is contract law. I also do a lot of closings where I have the lenders involved. And I'm just going to tell you, folks, you can't just wipe away contractual obligations. You can't. If there's mutual assent between the parties that contracted, that's different. But a third party stepping in and not necessarily paying it off, just saying it's gone. Unless you can find that the contract itself was unconscionable, or it was in some way ambiguous, or was in some way breached, then what are we doing here? We're literally telling people that contracts don't mean a thing. You can, in this society today, have all your cares and needs taken care of. Don't worry. Why fret? Just zippity-doo-dah, and here we are. We'll take care of you. Uncle Sugar's going to rush on in there and make sure that you don't have any pain at all. You got that degree in underwater basket weaving? It took you 7 years while you lived in mommy's basement to do it? Oh, that's too bad for you. How much did it cost you? $70,000, really? Don't worry. I got you covered. Look, that's just jackassery of the highest level. And it's a clear indication, too, that what we've got right now is just a complete disparity in what one side of the aisle believes versus the other. If you want more big government, if you want more bloated spending, if you want more, depriving people of the ability to be held accountable for their own actions and to actually follow through on things they committed to, well, then you're going to vote for Joe Biden, because that's what we're getting right now. That's exactly what we're getting. All right, Big Rig, take me to a break, brother. We'll do that right now. We'll come back, and I'm switching gears. Dipper number 2, election law matters. Coming up bottom of the hour, Secretary of State Wes Allen. We're going to talk about some waves he made yesterday. Democrats are freaking out. Y'all stay tuned. We'll talk about it. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. I mean, like making it cool to be a conservative. Saving the world, one soundbite at a time. All right, we're going to switch gears now. Going to Dipper number 2. Election law matters. Yes, it does. Boy, we saw that in 2020, didn't we? Election laws matter. And oh, by the way, the only people that are allowed to make changes to election law are the lawmakers. Unless the authority has been delegated by the legislative body of the state to do so, it has to be followed. You can't just unilaterally say, well, I'm the Secretary of State, and I just think we ought to go ahead and do it differently. And yet, how many did we see? We saw mayors changing local elections because of COVID fears. And we saw, procedures being, implemented. And then we saw wholesale cheating. And then we saw very questionable behavior. And then we saw things like, I'm sorry, but all of you poll watchers are going to have to wait outside. That defies what a poll watcher is. Thank you very much. Election laws matter. And I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, I think Alabama is wired pretty tight when it comes to election law. And I don't say this lightly. I really do believe that we are a role model state for others to look at. Think about it. Every single election, do we have problems? Of course we do. We also track them down and fix them. And in the past cycle, we saw a couple things happen in some of the districts where the staffing there at the registrar's office didn't do a very good job. And guess what? They lost their jobs. And as it should be. But all that to say, election law matters. And in Alabama, we care about it. We're looking at, like right now, we're the state where you have to show a photo ID, and yet people still go to the polls. We had photo ID, and in 2020, we had record turnout, and we had the results back the same day. Everybody knew where Alabama stood. Yeah, but Phil, we're not as big as California. So what? It's the process that makes a difference. But there's all kinds of things that happen now in and around campaigns, some of which you look at and go, okay, you know what? That's legit. I got no issue with people doing voter registration drives. Set up your booth at the college campus. I don't care if your state law says when you do your driver's license, you can also sign up for your voter registration. Good. It's an official capacity at that point. There's someone who's actually there with a job whose job it is to make sure paperwork is correct and take your picture when necessary. But what's crazy is Democrats have done a better job at this for years, but a memo leaked recently. The Democrats are suddenly like, oh crap, because Biden is losing the youth vote. And so a memo was leaked recently where at the DNC they were talking about maybe we need to chill a little bit on the voter registration drives for the younger generation because they may turn on us. Wait a minute. I thought you were about getting everybody to vote. Oh, you getting everybody to vote Democrat. Well, okay. Here's the thing. Voter registration drives, got an article here from townhall.com, came out today. Voter registration drives. They're big doings. And by the way, Republicans and Democrats, even independents, should do them. I think you should. If you have a friend who's never registered to vote, get them registered, man. Have them understand the importance of this constitutional right they have to actually cast a ballot. And by the way, don't come at me and say, Phil, the whole thing's... I heard a lady, and I so wanted to say something, but it would have been inappropriate because I would have had to embarrass her in front of a whole bunch of people. I was in a doctor's waiting room the other day, and it was one of those situations. I had three elderly ladies. It was like the Bridge Club. It was over there in the corner, and they were talking so loud that the whole room was starting to roll their eyes because they couldn't hear each other, so they kept shouting at each other. And one of them says, well, I told my son I was going to vote. And he said, Mama, why are you going to do it? Because ain't nothing going to happen. It's all fixed. Everything's rigged. And I said, you know what? You're right. I ain't going to do it. And I thought, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You got this constitutional right. Well, then you just gave them your vote. You just gave them your vote. So voter registration drives, though. There's a study out by Marquette Law School. It's got Democrats worried. It turns out that the folks who never voted or registered to vote before are actually pretty fond of Donald Trump. Those who are registered and certain to vote tend to break for Biden over Trump, just by a small margin, 52-48. But registered and on the fence come election day breaks down to Trump 56-44, and the unregistered who have never registered to vote are on the MAGA train by 64-36. That's huge. In other words, Republicans need to get their act together on voter registration drives. But in the meantime, Democrats would do well to think about the fact that voter registration is about registration. It's not about just registering your people. Now, listen, in a minute, we're going to have a call from Secretary of State Wes Allen. He made some waves yesterday because he came out and said that he has notified the National Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee, that they are at risk of not having Joe Biden on the ballot in Alabama. Why? Because the law of our state says that by a certain date, you have to have your certified candidates back to the Secretary of State to be able to put them on the ballots in time to get them printed and ready for the elections. Oh, really? Yes. And the Democrats are not even holding their convention until after the state mandatory deadline. It's a law. It's a statute. It's a creature of legislative act. And so what that basically means is the Secretary of State is giving them 5 months notice that y'all, you did not line your calendars up well, and we're going to have an issue. He's given them 5 months of warning. In the meantime, liberals' heads are exploding. This is what Republicans do. No, actually, this is what Democrats do. The Republicans actually giving you 5 months of warning and telling you how to fix it. He did it while the legislature is still in session. So if they need to pass something, they can. But in the meantime, let's talk to Secretary of State Wes Allen and find out what kind of flack he's been getting. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one, Alabama. This one. I'm talking about this show goes like way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. All right, we're in number 2 of the Triple Dipper for the day. Election law matters, and it does. Election law actually matters. And I've got some stuff that we'll share later on after I finish this next guest call about things that are happening in Pennsylvania and why we should care. Because, you know, you saw things like Pennsylvania affecting the 2020 elections nationally. How about that? But in Alabama, like I said earlier, I really feel like we've done a pretty good job of wiring it tight. And you can expect that at the end of the election day, you're going to get the results back. You're going to know what Alabama voters said. And it's going to be clean and crisp, and it's going to be pretty secure. It's going to be, you know, solidly, respectably, and capably put together. All that to say, the chief election officer for the state of Alabama is our Secretary of State, Wes Allen. Wes Allen served as a probate judge down in Pike Road area for a good bit of time, and then he served in the state house, and now he serves as our Alabama Secretary of State. And yesterday, he just came out and pretty much said, hey, Democrats, by the way, in Alabama, we follow the law. I'll let him tell you more about it. Mr. Secretary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Senator. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Hope you're well.
Absolutely. I'm doing good. I actually saw your press release pop up on Twitter while I was on the air yesterday, and within 6 minutes of it coming live, I was texting you saying, do you want to come on? Because I'm pretty sure this is going to be a topic.
Yeah, it's been quite the 24 hours. We've had a few media requests. So, no, it's, listen, we were getting ready and getting prepared for the November election. As you can imagine, it's going to be a big one. It always is with presidential elections. And so our team was preparing, and we noticed that the Democratic National Convention is going to be happening in August 19th to the 22nd. Well, we were looking at our administrative calendar, all of the dates that we have to legally meet, per law. And so we were noticing that their convention falls after the deadline to submit their certificate of their nominees for president and vice president. And so we got to talking, and I said, well, let's send them a letter and tell them that, they've got to have that paperwork, that certification into us by the deadline. What the law says, black and white. And, Senator, you know me well enough that when I took the oath of office in January of 2023, right out here on the state capitol steps, that, I took an oath to uphold the laws of this state and our Constitution, and I take that oath very seriously. And so we sent the letter to remind them to, have it into us. And, we have not heard anything back from them officially, or I haven't at least. I guess we're kind of talking through the media, but just wanted them to know that we do have statutory deadlines.
Yeah.
And that we do have to meet them. And it doesn't matter if it's DNC, RNC, no labels, who it is. It's a deadline for all parties, and all parties are expected to meet that deadline.
Well, and I guess it's fair to point out, and you kind of said it, but this is not something you put on your calendar. This was a creation of legislative act. I mean, there's actually a statute passed by the legislature that sets the time frames you have to work in, correct?
Correct. And this is a decades-old code section, 171431 to be specific. And it's one of those things that's in black and white. You can read it. And in 2020, I will give some backstory to this. In 2020, both conventions were going to be held after the deadline. So the legislature did a one-time fix to move the deadline to where both conventions could comply. And so they did that, but it was only a one time. It does not apply to 24. We go back to the old code, the current code, and that's what we're running under now, and that's what we expressed in the letter to the DNC. And if it would have been RNC, DNC, it didn't matter to me, Senator. You know me. I'll send a letter shoot off a letter to whoever. But we thought it was important enough to let them know what they were facing.
Well, and I've been on social media duking it out with some trolls who, What amazes me is there are people in the left side of the aisle who absolutely forget that secretaries of state in other places have chosen not to follow state law and simply try to take Trump off the ballot because they just think they can, and they're being overturned by the Supreme Court. But you, on the other hand, gave 5 months warning to the DNC while the legislature is still in session. So if they need to act, they can. And yet you're being called the guy who's trying to take Biden off the ballot.
Imagine that. I have one. We have one email today. He asked us what type of lead paint I was drinking. So you get all kinds, man. You get all kinds. But we're going to follow the law, and we're going to uphold the law in this office. And it's just one of those things. It's black and white, and we can explain it, but just some folks just aren't hearing it, and that's what we're going to do here in this office.
Well, listen, I got to ask because, like you said, the 2020, both parties needed something fixed. And there was an opportunity for them to put in a provisional certification from the party, and I think the Democrats did that, if I'm not mistaken. But that being said, you said the legislature passed a one-time fix back in 2020. Apparently, the Democrats didn't learn their lesson because they still set their calendar for after the deadline. But that being said, has there been any discussion about the state legislature here in Alabama doing another fix? And for that matter, I would think that somebody like Anthony Daniels or somebody else who's a Democrat could bring the bill if he had to. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think any legislator, over there, they probably need to be getting their ducks in a row. And I'm sure that there are conversations going on to broach the subject and get it fixed. So I'm sure they're going to be taking a look at it. We're still marching along over here, doing the things that we got to do, and whatever the legislature passed, that's what we'll adhere to.
And by the way, what would the legislature have to pass? Is it a resolution or is it an actual an act?
It's an amendment to 17-14-31.
Oh wow!
Talking about the days.
Okay.
Right now it's at 82 days prior to the general election, and of course there's some things in there too that we got to adhere to federally. Like the UACAVA voters, the uniform overseas military voters.
Oh yeah.
There's some federal law in there too that we got to make sure we pay attention to, because you got to have so many days to get them the ballots, get them back, and you have them printed and mailed, and anytime you're mailing ballots overseas and all that sort of thing, it takes a while. So something to consider, But yeah, we're taking a look at that.
And let me ask you too: did I see correctly that we're not the only state? Ohio, I think, is doing something the same. That their dates don't line up with the DNC's conference committee.
Correct. Yeah, Ohio. My counterpart up there, Frank LaRose, had sent a letter last week, and their deadline is actually a week before. If I read that correctly, if I saw that correctly, but their deadline is a week before ours. And but you mentioned it a second ago, Senator, about a provisional certification. I saw that quote from the Democratic Party about these states that have provisional certification, and I don't know how we got lumped in with that, because there may have been some other states that do, but we do not have any kind of provisional certification exception in our law. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from. I'd like to set the record straight. I mean, ours is pretty much black and white. August 15th, 82 days before, got to have it. And but no provisional certification. They're going to have to change. They're going to have to, write the bill, pass the bill, and amend the law. And I don't know if they're going to do a one-time fix. I don't know, what they're thinking, but I'm sure we'll hear something pretty soon.
Well, so I guess the reality is something's going to happen. I mean, I think you and I sitting here talking believe that, all right, something's going to happen. It's going to get fixed.
Sure.
We're not going to and it's not like he's going to win Alabama anyway. But still, I look at it and think something's going to happen. But but you're telling me though that unless the legislature takes action, that technically Biden could be off the ballot.
Unless the party gets the paperwork, the correct certification in to us by August the 15th. You won't have ballot access. No.
That is something else. You know what though? And I look at it and think this is classic because they've been so focused on, non-important issues. They didn't pay attention to one of the most important things, which is you actually have to be on the ballot to win. And here they are scheduling their. And by the way, I wonder what was the thinking of putting your conference so close to the actual election date? Because they're literally less than 3 months from the election before they even have the DNC's national convention.
Well, I can't speak, don't know for sure, but there's a lot of states that have a voting season. Remember?
Yeah,
30,
that's true.
40 days out, and I guess they may want to get it as close to that as possible. I don't know. I mean, my job's to uphold the law, not run their party, and so that's what we're doing here.
Well, you're doing a fine job of it, Mr. Secretary. We appreciate you making time today, and I suspect that we're going to have some more liberal heads exploding before it's all over. But I bet the ballots are going to be complete when the time comes.
Yes, sir. We're looking forward, and obviously we're getting ready for the runoff. Too. That's what we were talking about too in our planning sessions. The runoff in 28 of 67 counties on next week, April 16th. So,
that's right. Go to the polls. Go to the polls. Go to the polls.
That's right. It's important.
All right.
It's important.
Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate
Thank you. Take care. He's a good dude. He really is, and does a good job at being Secretary of State. He takes it very seriously. And listen, here's the bottom line, y'all. The Democrats are freaking out right now. You can look at my social media and tell. The Democrats are freaking out right now. Oh my gosh, they're trying to keep Biden off the ballot. They're trying to help Trump. No, they're just trying to obey the law. What a novel concept. But from the left that does things that skirts the law all the time, what we're hearing is the kind of panic that comes from realizing they're going to be held to account. They're actually going to be held to a standard. They actually should have planned differently. Like, I don't know, stop thinking about it's all about us and realize you got to conform with the states that have the right to pass the laws at the local level to set the calendar about which you have to abide. It's amazing. And it's actually poor planning. And these are the people that want to run the country. Good Lord. All right. Take us to a break, Big Rig. We'll do it right now. We'll come right back and more of this. And then don't forget, coming up top of the hour, the Grand Council. Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. We got this topic we're doing right now. Election law matters, and I told you earlier about Secretary of State Wes Allen taking a stand for Alabama law and saying, "Here's the deal." And I think he did a pretty able job of describing it when he came on. And I told you also about voter registration drives and how Democrats are now freaking out because the whole idea of getting people registered to vote might mean bad things for them because the polls are showing that a lot of unregistered voters are leaning towards Trump, and they're like, oh no, what do we do now? Well, here's the other thing. Alabama just passed a new law. We now have a ballot harvesting law in place. And so piece here on WHNT, Channel 19 out of Huntsville. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen, this story's about 10 days old, paid political activists have been working to interfere with elections in the state. And with a new ballot harvesting bill signed into law and a new voter integrity system in place, he said Alabamians are in for a safe and secure election season. He said the new ballot harvesting law requires individuals to turn in their completed application on their own. What? You mean you can't just go down to the nursing home and walk around and tell everybody how to vote and then pick up a stack of them and walk out? What? The new legislation prohibits pre-filled voter applications that also come through the mail. Yes. He said anyone can still receive assistance that they need through the process. Allen also said that a new voter integrity database protects voter information. Voter integrity database just means that they can tell if you're registered to vote in Georgia. They can tell if you are registered to vote in Florida. They can, because they're able to see it. They can trade that information among states. And if you're here and you're also there, you can't vote in two places, so you get purged from the list. They can also look at the Alabama Department of Public Health's records and see whether or not you've died. I hate to say it, but they can see it. And so they said they've identified 109,000 individuals that have moved out of the state or that needed to otherwise be removed from the list, and they're cleaning up their voter rolls. It does not mean that if you have a name like, I don't know, you're the other John Smith, or in my case, the other Phil Williams. I got my buddy Phil Williams up in Huntsville, and I'm Phil Williams down in Gadsden. No, it's not going to take me out of the ballots. And if you have two of the same name, and by the way, there used to be 3 Phil Williamses right here in my county. It was maddening. I used to get their phone calls. Hey, buddy, I'm coming to town. Who are you? Oh, I got the wrong number. I'm sorry. It happened all the time. But nonetheless, you can still vote provisional. It's not going to stop you. So your vote's going to count. Go to the polls. And if they've changed things and your name's not on there, it doesn't mean anything bad happened. It means they're doing their job and they might have taken you off. Here's I tell you what, let me just do this. I'm going to jump on some text messages real quick because I'm going to run out of time otherwise if I don't. Glenn from Madison says Alabama's not the only state with a deadline. Alabama, 82 days. Arizona, 90. Georgia, 150. There you go, Glenn. Perfect. You're spot on, man. It says the Georgia requirement may only be for the presidentials, but what we're saying there is there's a bunch of states, that are wondering why the DNC set their convention so late. Chef Ben from Adiana, Chef Ben says, looks like if the Dems weren't so busy being shady in the states they're embedded in, they wouldn't have overlooked the deadline to be on the ballot in Alabama. Just saying. You're on it, Chef Ben. Brand spanking new texter, Bobby from Huntsville. Welcome to it, Bobby. We're glad to have you. He said, I've had financial hardship ever since the commander and thief has been filling his pockets with my government-backed mortgage. I've been paying off for 20 years, needs to be forgiven so I can retire before he steals all my money. I get you, man. He's got a picture of his Trump 2024 hat on the dash of his truck. Devin from Brownsboro texted in and said, he was just giving us a heads up on some things, wasn't he? I see it. Gotcha. You were communicating back and forth with him, I see. Jerry from Decatur, Obama must have seen in his magic ball that old Joe would flunk as president, so the government took over the student loans and turned it into a giveaway to win votes. Yeah. Lewis from Birmingham, I'm glad to know my grandmother, who passed away into glory 1 year ago, won't be voting for Biden this year. Well, yes, they've removed her from the rolls. Bless her heart. And sorry for your loss, man. What else have I got for the break? Penny from Boaz, want to know why student loan debt is such an issue? Because young people cannot make life decisions. Their brains are not fully developed. It's the same reason the kids shouldn't be allowed life-altering sessions with medical procedures. Yeah, but you know what, though? I still think they went into these contracts for their student loans with their eyes wide open. And Chip from Muscle Shoals says, Phil, loan was a 4-letter word in my house. The first 2 years I worked part-time. My last 2 years I worked a 311 shift at Robbins Tire and Rubber, molding passenger car tire tubes and anything else I could do to get an extra shift when available. I didn't know a dime when I graduated. There you go, man. There you go. Well, I'll tell you what, my wife had a small student loan. We got it paid off in our newlywed years at a time when we were broke. And then we also, by the way, had me go to law school using my GI Bill after having an Army scholarship for my undergrad. Just saying, earned it. Too bad I didn't take out a big loan and have it wiped out. All right, coming right back, the Grand Council, Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And, oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. And you know what it means. It's Wednesday. We play the Campbell at the front of the show, and towards the end of the show, we do a thing we call the Grand Council. So I've got two of my brethren who I hope are both on the phones because we got a wacky system going today. But let me just do the roll call real quick. From FM Talk 106.5 down in Mobile, host of the Jeff Poor Show. Oh, by the way, editor-in-chief of 1819 News and also writes with Breitbart and others. Jeff Poor, are you with us?
I am present, and that's not me mouth breathing in the phone right now.
That would be the other guy who I'm about to announce right now from 77 AM 92.5 FM WVNN up in Huntsville, and too many other radio stations to count, as well as being a guy who writes for Yellowhammer News. Are you on the line right now, Dale Jackson?
Oh, you forgot my TV show this time. What's going on here?
I have to be selective. Otherwise, I tend my entire segment is naming off all your credentials. So let me just call a quorum and hit it, Big Rig.
Assemble the Grand Council.
All right. Let me jump on in there. And I see there's breaking news out of 1819. So I'm going to say, Jeff Poor, you first.
Well, then we'll talk about Stan McDonald's decision to resign from the Ethics Commission. If you've been keeping up with it, there's a little bit of back and forth between he and Matt Simpson, chairman of the House Ethics Committee, over this bill the House legislature is trying to push through. The Dale finds very, very boring, unfortunately.
Well, it just got really interesting now.
Oh, no. You have to stick in the boring camp, buddy. You are not. You can't just jump on this bandwagon. But Stan McDonald resigning today after, it feels to me like they had this chambered ready to go if he did speak out. But as a member of the Ethics Commission, you're not supposed to donate to political candidates, and he clearly did. And when he came out and started criticizing what was going on, I mean, like Matt Simpson, who I know and consider an acquaintance, he had it ready to go, and he goes on Sean Sullivan's show right after mine and lays it out there, and then it kind of was a kind of a stewing controversy, and then today it kind of hit a pinnacle.
Yeah. So to remind my listeners too.
Well, the question.
Okay. So what's the question?
Did he do the right thing by resigning?
Well, it's funny you say that because first of all, I think it was honorable. I read the apology during one of the breaks here a little while ago that he wrote that you guys published on 1819, and I see that he resigned. I actually was a little surprised that he resigned, although I think he could have tendered his resignation and waited to see whether the commission thought that he should. But I think it was honorable, and so he actually came on my show not long after Matt Simpson called into your other show there, Sean Sullivan's show, and down in FM Talk 106.5 that same day, and he told me off air, he goes, I think I stirred something up. I just found out that I may have actually violated the laws that I'm talking about, and I thought, wow. And next thing I know, you guys are publishing his apology, and he's resigned. So that's huge, man. I'll be honest with you. That's a really big deal when the ethics laws that we're talking about amending were apparently convoluted enough to where an ethics commissioner did not realize he had violated them and decided he had to resign because of it. Dale, you chime in.
Lock that menace up right now. He is a risk to society. I don't feel safe with him out there. Put Stan McDonald behind bars. That's the only thing that can happen to save this. Look, it's a misdemeanor because he didn't willfully do it. I think we all accept that. They may try to make some political hay out of this if they are. But I think what we were learning here is maybe the ethics laws don't need to be changed. They got this guy, and it was an inadvertent thing. This whole thing of like we've got to change this, we must do this. I just don't think there's anyone clamoring for this. And for some reason, this is becoming such a hot button thing. It's like, okay, I mean, good luck, guys. Change it. If you can get the votes, get it done. But yeah, I don't think Stan McDonald's little error here is going to change the world as it is.
It's not, but it's gonna definitely make waves. Right now, the Ethics Commission is down one, and it's down one because an ethics commissioner resigned when he realized he had publicly stepped in it by doing some things the ethics law says he can't do. Anyway, Jeff, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I just wonder what's next. I mean, here's a question, does this help or hinder the passage of this law that, hey, even a commissioner doesn't know what's going on, and now people are going to have cover to vote for it. Now, look, let me give you the lay of the land here. It's waiting consideration by the Alabama State Senate, but it doesn't have a sponsor yet.
Yeah. And
that we know of. Massachusetts says it's Jimmy Gemma Wagner, but I haven't been able to confirm that. But what does the future hold is the question.
Well, I think right now too, there's a bit of a tiff between the House and the Senate, and they're really not moving each other's bills real well. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me jump on the next question before we run out of time, which brings me to another question. Laws that may have to get dealt with this session are popping up, and one of them is, what's going to happen if by August 15th, the Democrats don't have a certified candidate to the Alabama Secretary of State? Is Joe Biden not going to be on the ballot? And liberals are freaking out right now because how dare they do this? But the reality is, Secretary of State Wes Allen's is citing the law. The legislature is in session. Will they take action on it? Dale, you first this time.
Put Joe Biden in jail. I don't feel safe with him out here. He's a menace to society. Look, the Alabama legislature should do nothing. They should just let this be, and if they figure it out, great. If they don't, oh well. Same thing Ohio should do. There's zero reason for them to help them. They tried their hardest to throw Donald Trump off the ballot. They would try to throw all of us off the ballot for insurrection or whatever. No, do nothing. And if you do something, you're going to pay for it.
Jeff, weigh in.
I'm a little. What I'd be concerned about is, well, if Alabama's going to do that, we're going to do it in this state, and it's just, it just, you got to let the other guy on the ballot, I think, and figure out. Maybe Wes Allen's just trying to draw some attention to it, but what happens if every state just starts doing this? It's just not good.
I think it's going to get fixed. I mean, I think the reality is the bigger story, the one that's not being talked about enough right now, is that the people that are asking for the opportunity to run the country did not even check the calendar when they set the date for their convention. And they literally set it at a time when there's no way to get their certified candidate to the various states in time to be on the ballot, which you would think would be the number one thing you look at is ballot access before you even bother doing anything else. So I just look at this as being egg on the face of the Democrats, and Republicans are going to have to rush in there and help them. Darn you silly Democrats. Don't worry, we're there for you.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at the calendar in the legislature. It doesn't look like there's a lot of time.
There's not.
I just have to let this one go.
We'll see. Last question, 2.5 minutes. Dale, what do you got?
Here we are again, once again, talking about the Confederacy in Alabama. They want to add Juneteenth to the calendar. Fine. They want to make people choose between Jefferson Davis's birthday and Juneteenth to take off, which is hilarious. I personally find that very funny because I want to go down and see who chose to work on Juneteenth and take Jefferson Davis's birthday off. But why even do this? Just give them both days. Stop the nonsense, or do away with Jefferson Davis's birthday altogether. Stop drawing attention to this stuff. Why are they doing this?
Well, first of all, I hadn't heard it this year, but it comes up every year. Like the fact that we still have Jefferson Davis's birthday freaks some people out. But as a state, it's just part of our law. So you're telling me there's a bill right now that would give you the option?
Yeah, they would name Juneteenth a state holiday, and then you have to pick between that and Jefferson Davis's birthday.
Can you take a half day off of each?
I don't know the rules, but it's incredibly ridiculous.
Jeff, what say you?
I think Wandering Gavan has something to do with this.
Oh,
it's not necessarily a Republican-led effort. So if you're wondering, like, why that's so crazy, then don't necessarily like what are they doing? There's something going on here that has something to do with the crazy.
Well, there's always crazy. If Waddling Gavan's involved, then there's going to be a tad of crazy attached to it. That's my question is, okay, can we take half a day off for both and then just see where the chips fall? Okay. What is it? Wait, is it up to the employer or the individual?
I have no idea, but I want there to be a public I want to be a public accounting of who took what day off.
Darn
No,
right.
it is stated. This is about state employees, right?
Right.
So, like, the employer just offers the option, and the employee gets to pick.
Courthouses everywhere are going to be flying, about the seat of their pants on the days that the people are out, because no one's going to know what to do. Half the crowd's there, half the crowd's not. Nothing gets done. All right, that's round one. We are through with round one of the Grand Council. I got two guys with me, Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and just little old me. Y'all stay tuned. Round two coming up. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world, one soundbite at a time. Back for round two right now of the Grand Council with Jeff Poor from FM Talk 106.5 in Mobile and 1819 News. And Dale Jackson from WVNN and Points Beyond up in Huntsville, as well as Yellowhammer News. Jeff, what do you got for us for round two?
So Senator Elliott goes on Dale's show yesterday and says he thinks the gambling's probably done.
This was mine.
Yeah, too bad. But Greg Reed, yesterday afternoon after that appearance, said that they're going to appoint conferees, and the Senate's going to have its conferees, and the House has its already, with Amy Witt, Chris Blackshear, and Sam Jones. What's going on here? Are they just going through the motions here as an obligatory gesture, or has this thing really got steam?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, I don't know that I have the answer to that, but I'll say this. What's happening right now is there's a tiff with the House and the Senate, and it happens all the time, but the House is really mad because they don't think enough of their bills are getting passed in the Senate towards the end of the session. And, oh, by the way, they burned a lot of political capital stupidly on that gambling bill. And the fact that there's been no conference appointees even yet is an insult to the House. So the House is probably being mollified by, yes, we'll appoint a conference. Yes, we'll go through the motions. But I do not, at this point, see that bill passing, at least not anything like what it is right now. Dale?
I killed this thing weeks ago. Next question.
Come on. Dale Jackson single-handedly slays the gambling giants. Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much.
Okay. Just so you know, that's not true. How
dare you, sir?
I don't care how many radio stations you're on. Doesn't matter. I mean, what do you think, Jeff? I mean, I'm not hearing anything different than that. Are you?
Just talking to some of the House members, they think, and now they'll tell me whatever because I'm Mr. Media down there, but they think they could get something out of this. And just how, I guess the question would be, would Governor Ivey intervene? And is she enthusiastic about this at all? What is the angle here to get this done? If it's realistic, what's it going to take? And let's make a list. And I wonder, all of a sudden, Kay Ivey starts calling members, and you have this thing in conference committee. Does it move? And I think it was probably dead, but I think it's like Lazarus but on life support right now.
Yeah, and by the way, you're not talking about things that are happening. You're giving the what ifs, right?
Well, I don't know. We don't know really who the masters of the universe that run this state are doing behind the scenes. So I would caution y'all to say that this thing is dead right now and just be on the lookout. Better safe than sorry.
All right, so Dale, before we leave that topic, do you want to actually say something meaningful?
Well, they can't get together on this. They want vastly different things, and they have no reason to play nice with each other if they can't get what they want, so it's dead.
All right, next question. Dale, I think you're next. What do you got?
Okay, so I know you guys love this poll talk. Donald Trump looks like in most polls that are coming out now is starting to trail a little bit. Is this the beginning of the flip flop here, where Joe Biden starts to pull better than Trump in almost every poll, and we basically say Trump can't win, which basically everybody predicted would happen once he was the nominee?
I haven't seen that poll. I saw the Marquette poll that came out today and talked about the fact that voter registration is leaning towards Trump right now, and the Democrats are freaking out over it. What poll are you talking about? Is there a specific?
There's a couple of different polls that are out, and they're starting to trend towards Biden.
Did you just use the old political reporter version of unnamed sources have said?
Well, I mean, do you want me to sit here and read off the polls? I don't have them in front of me. I saw the story, and I'm just relaying it to you. I know you're still upset that you're mad that I run the state and you're trying to poke holes in this, but that's okay. You could just answer the question, Senator.
Bottom line is, I think it's too soon to tell. I don't have any polls that tell me that Trump is slipping. I think it's going to be close, and I think that we better tighten up election laws in some of the looser states, and that Republicans better take nothing for granted. And if the laws of a state allow ballot harvesting or early registration or early voting, Republicans better do it. And if they don't, then we better make sure the Democrats don't try. But right now, no, I'm not seeing anything that trends anything more than right now. It appears that Trump has got a lead, but it's not a big one. Jeff?
The things are trending definitely for Biden right now. I don't think there's any question about that. Even if the polls that Trump's ahead in, the lead is narrowing. What I'd say about that, though, I think this abortion stuff really is kind of having an impact. IVF. I mean, Democrats are messaging masters, and it helps to have the media on your side. But I don't think this lasts. I don't think this is the quote-unquote flip. This news cycle will go away, and there'll be something else. And Biden is just not built for the long haul. He's going to screw something up, guys. It's going to take another hit. There is a lot of game to be played here, and I just still wouldn't put a lot of stock in Biden's ability to keep his head above water.
Yeah, and a story that I saw out today, I think on townhall.com, said that that Biden's all-in latest strategy is to reach in hard on the LGBTQ issues and stand against Israel, and I think both of those are going to be losers in a big way, with even his own base in some ways. All right, I gotta jump in here with maybe a minute left. And before I say much more, I got to go ahead and say happy birthday to Grant, who is 6 years old today. Dale's little man, 6 years old. That's big doings right there. Give me some applause there, Big Rig. That's worthy of applause. All right. I'm going to call that for Grand Council. Thank you, Bose, for being on a joint call. That'd be Jeff Poor from FM Talk 106.5 and 1819 News. Dale Jackson from Yellowhammer News and a bunch of different radio stations, he says. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here, Alabama. Y'all don't talk about this show goes like way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Got several new text messages. Before I do that, though, I got to tell you guys, somebody else that covers a lot of ground is our friends at Southern Immediate Care. Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that covers like a huge swath of ground across North Alabama. Places like Gadsden, Anniston, Atala, 6 more locations in and around the Birmingham area. Listen, Southern Immediate Care, all their locations, open 7 days a week, and they will see all ages. That means if your child gets sick on a Saturday morning, do you have to wait till Monday? Nope, you can take them right then. Southern Immediate Care is who I use personally. And no, I don't use them because they advertise. I loved using them and asked them then if they would advertise because I knew I could brag on the fact that every time I went over there, it was clean, professional, friendly. I mean, it's just spot on. So yeah, Southern Immediate Care. Listen, if you need medical attention, even on a Saturday, you look up the location nearest to you online, head on down there, and they will take care of you. Tell them, by the way, while you're filling out your forms, you heard about this on Rightside Radio. I'd appreciate that. All right, I got to jump over here to some text messages. You got a brand spanking new texter in the line, Karen from Decatur. We are glad that you are in there. So with regards to the question about Jefferson Davis, she goes, stop trying to change state holidays. Jefferson Davis' birthday is a better day for a holiday. With Memorial Day the week before, you can take a longer vacation with your family. So change the name if you have to, but don't change the date. Interesting point. She's making far too much common sense here. But then again, that is a superpower on this show. Gary from Decatur says, Phil, Dale Jackson is a never Trumper. Always has been and always will be. Okay. Gary, I don't have an explanation, but anyway. Joe from Athens, only the ones working on Jefferson Davis's birthday won't know what to do. That's true. Okay. Benji from Hackleburg says the Democrats could have had this purposely planned as an excuse or a way to keep Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe off the ballot. Yeah, but they're not doing it in enough states, and he wasn't going to win Alabama anyway. But if they did it, okay, I see what you're saying. But no, I don't think so. I think this is actually just poor planning on their part. And now we have a crisis of their making. And I love the old saying that, poor planning on your part does not constitute a crisis on my part. But that's what they're going to say. You've got to make allowances. You've got to make a way. This is not right. You cannot keep the president off the ballot. Well, he's the president of the freaking United States, the man that carries the nuclear codes and runs the Situation Room. He's the guy that actually stands up there and gives the State of the Union address. He interacts with foreign, heads of state, and he allegedly is the commander-in-chief. Maybe there could have been a little better planning on his part. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna opine about this for a moment. Let me just run a rabbit trail. The Democrats have an air of expectancy. The Democrats have been known for years to have this, well, we just are, therefore you should. I mean, they are the ones who push for and broaden entitlements, which is where you just expect to get stuff. Some of which is there because you paid into the system. Some of which they're just expanding to give away more stuff. They're the ones who want to pay for your student loans right now. You've got the Democrats that are constantly looking to expand the scope of government and create new regulatory burdens. They see themselves as the party of, it's just expected. Don't you know who we are? I mean, AOC goes on, I had that clip earlier of her on Stephen Colbert's show, and she was just delighted that we're going to pay off 40 million student loans to the tune of billions of dollars so that, in her words, people can do things like travel abroad and have more time. What? That's what happens when you let Democrats be in charge. But because they have the air of expectancy, they never take into account that maybe there's going to be a rule. There's a law. There's a deadline. We gotta respond to something at a certain time. But we're setting our conference from what we want it to be. Yeah, I got news. We have state laws in Ohio, Alabama, Georgia, several others that don't seem to line up with your presumption of just entitlement. And so, yeah, we'll see how this plays out. It's going to get worked out. I mean, the reality is, and I heard what Dale said, and I think it's funny, but in the reality, we're not going to be that state. We're not. We're not going to be that petty. We're not going to say, screw you. Now, I'll tell you what. Here's the flip side of that. If the Democrats don't have a little bit of a hat in hand attitude, if they don't say something like, "Oh, we didn't see that. Can we request your legislature to please make an allowance and we'll try to make our scheduling better in the future?" If they don't have that kind of attitude, if they come at it with a stiff arm, you MAGAites down there in Alabama, you red state people, if they do that, then he might not be on the ballot. And wouldn't that be a hoot? And that would be righteous. Well, we'll see. We will see. Right now, though, what's funny is if you look at my social media, it's been one troll after another. You can follow me on Twitter, which is where I do most of my stuff. Twitter and Instagram, by the way. Instagram is at Rightside Radio, and then Twitter is at Sen Phil Williams. That's SEN Phil Williams. And then we also have a Rightside Radio website, or excuse me, ID on Twitter as well. But yeah, you can follow my at Sen Phil Williams on Twitter today if you're on Twitter. Go check it out. And it's been a hoot to watch liberals go, you're just like out there trying to just be awful, and you Republicans are mean. And I'm thinking, you're the ones that had the Secretary of State in Colorado unilaterally take Trump off the ballot because she blamed him for an insurrection. For the love. I mean, just, the Secretary of State, was it Maine, just unilaterally took the president off the ballot there too. Just because they thought they could. And they got that handed back to them, didn't they? What we're looking at here is with 5 months' notice, while the legislature is still in session, the Alabama Secretary of State has given warning to the DNC that they hosed it on their scheduling. And they need to fix themselves. They need to unscrew themselves. Need to get their heads out of their fourth point of contact. And all you paratroopers know what I'm saying. But that's literally what needs to happen right now. So, Democrats, just fair warning, if you want to be on the ballot, how about you go, oh man, sorry y'all, can you help us out? And we'll do it. But if you come at us and go, you red state MAGA redneck people are mean, then you know what? We're going to smile and go to the house and just wait and see how it plays out. I got a call on line one. Let me grab that real quick. Brian from Huntsville. Hey, Brian, how you doing, buddy?
I was doing great until you mentioned student loan forgiveness. Because I went in the Army for the GI Bill. My wife got grants and such and paid and worked and paid for her own college. And indirectly I did. And I got two daughters that got some grants and partial scholarships. They worked hard for those.
Yep.
And then my wife and I paid for the rest of it. Where is my money over this student loan forgiveness?
That's right.
Why can't I go on vacations? Because I chose to have kids. And the parents of those kids that took those student loans, if the kids did it against their recommendations, then I feel sorry for them.
Yep.
If they said to go out and get it, then they need to all be in the same boat. And I'm not talking a cruise ship.
No, you're absolutely right. And, and also, too, how about and I hate to use the word equity, but how about the inequities of someone who paid off their loan last month only to have Biden announce this month that they had just waited a little longer, they would have gotten it for free. I mean, for the love. I mean, you just basically, you're hosed if you're trying to do things the right way.
Precisely. Now, nothing's fair in this world, but this is just ludicrous.
Yeah. We didn't allow the word fair in my house. You too, buddy. See you.
Bye.
Yeah, we didn't allow the word fair in my house. Dad, that's not fair. We don't use fair. Dad, it's not fair. The world's not fair. Stop saying fair. Now, what do you want? That's what we had that conversation all the time in our house.
That's a good rule to live by, I think.
To what?
That's a good rule to live by.
It is a good rule to live by. Fair.
Nothing's fair.
What's fair?
Yeah.
Fair is just it's just like fair is an expectation. All right, listen, I got a couple more texts and then we'll take the break. Mark from Laredo, Tennessee says, Democrats don't ever help Republicans, so why should Republicans help them? I say, screw them. He says, don't beat around the bush, Mark. Tell us how you feel. JT Lacey Springs says, student loans, bah. He says, in a meme, he says, you cry my body, my choice. I say, your student loan, your debt. Nice. Well played, sir. Chef Ben again from Adiana. He says, this stuff is just pure political entertainment. It is, man. It is. The question is it a Greek tragedy or is it a comedy? I don't know. And then Jeff from Indiana says, don't fall in the trap, Phil. Even though this might have been a screw up, they will use it to their advantage because Biden's going to lose Alabama anyway, but it'll take people in other states and he'll get the sympathy vote. And by the boom, by the bang, bada boom, bada bang, he's president again. Oh, Jeff, that may be true. That's maybe a good point. All right, take the break there, Big Rig. We'll take that break. We'll come right back and wrap up this day. I got a dipper I didn't touch, but it was a hoot. Maybe I should do a little bit of it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. Hey, by the way, every single day, Big Rig takes the live show we do, all 3 hours of it, and then cleans it up and makes it ready for podcast form. And it's up there on the website. You can go to rightsideradio.org and or any podcasting sourcing out there, like, iTunes,
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you get podcasts.
All the stuff, all the podcast places, and our website, rightsideradio.org. And it is kicking right now. The downloads are increasing. We're still up like 20% over month right now.
We're actually up 38% now.
What?
Mm-hmm.
This is all you're doing, man. Give yourself some applause over there. Could you please? Thank you. Big Rig. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, before you do the grades, make sure you give him extra points for the fact that the podcast is kicking right now. But yeah, if you want to get something that you've missed, or you want to hear it again, or you want to send it to somebody else, I would just encourage you, go find our podcast. And there's some announcements coming about other things that you're going to want to know about very soon. In the meantime, go ahead and please check out our podcast, and if you would, subscribe to it. And we'll be very much appreciative. RightSideRadio.org is a great source for all your stuff. Bob from Madison texted in and says, I paid off my daughter's student loans. This is nothing more than vote buying. Yes, sir, it absolutely is. And then John from Huntsville just came in. It says, Dale Jackson's Grand Council performance earns him a B-. And Jeff Poor's Grand Council performance earns him an A+. Phil also earns an A+, which means today's winner is obviously Big Rig with an A++. Perfection and congratulations. However, he says if Big Rig does not play his Turbo Thursday sound effect tomorrow, there could be major point deductions.
Oh, man. You're going to put all the pressure on me.
It's all right. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be good. I got to tell you about a story that I just found that popped up overnight. So I'm not going to get into this last dipper I've got. I'll hold it for the moment because there's no sense wasting a full dipper in like 7 minutes. But I do want to tell you about the story that I just found, breaking news out of Arab, Alabama. By the way, I don't know the answer to why it's not Arab, Alabama. It's Arab, Alabama. So the North Country Ford dealership up there, anybody who's driven through Arab knows where North Country Ford is. It's a good Ford dealership, and they just had a massive overnight theft. And y'all, this was a sophisticated theft, one of which was a Dodge Demon, a 2023 Dodge Challenger Demon, estimated at $158,000. That's a high dollar, six-figure muscle car. Well over 1 million vehicles, which, by the way, was only 8 vehicles. In other words, they targeted the high dollar items on the showroom floor. But this was not just, whoever did this, and you got to know there's a crew, because 8 luxury vehicles just disappeared. Apparently, whoever it was, listen, was it organized? Yes. Big Rig and I were talking during the break. Inside job, could very well be. But whoever it was knew where everything was. They came in the dark of night through a back window where there were no surveillance cameras. And then they got to the surveillance camera system. Using a laptop, they apparently hacked into the system and shut down the system and also erased all the footage for hours prior, so just in case they'd been seen walking on the property. And then they went and they got into the lot box where they keep all the key fobs for all the vehicles on the lot. They stole 300 key fobs. Why? Because all the vehicles are push button start. All you got to do is have the key fob with you. Well, how do they know which one's which? Apparently it didn't matter. They drop all the key fobs in one bag and walk up to the car, and whatever car you're at, the key fob's in the bag and it registers. And all they got to do is push start and then drive away. This is unbelievable. But they got $1.2 million in vehicles. 2 of them have been recovered already, but 330 keys missing. And the general manager, Greg Anthony, says in 30 years in business, he's never seen a theft so sophisticated. He said, not this big, nothing to this magnitude. And they're out there offering a reward. They've got a $10,000 cash reward right now for anybody who has information that could lead to the return of the keys and the vehicles themselves.
I think they need to investigate their employees and anyone that's been involved in the dealership in the last maybe few years.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an inside job.
How about that disgruntled mechanic that they fired last month,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I had a friend of mine not long ago who had a limited edition, I won't say what kind, but he had a limited edition truck. Like there were only 150 of these made. My friend was doing fairly well financially. He bought a pretty significant 6-figure truck. It was a super truck basically, but it was like a special dealer options and all that. Anyway, the bottom line is it was stolen. Whoever stole it not only was able to hack it and be able to get its systems operational without his key fob, but they also remotely from outside his house hacked into his security system, shut down the cameras and the alarms, and then shut off the alarm to the vehicle, and then drove away with his special limited edition truck. That was something. And
You should interview that guy. It sounds like the same guy who did it at the dealership.
Now I'm starting to think. He couldn't get his student loans paid off, so he went and stole some vehicles. Listen, I'm telling you, it's nuts. Mark from Laredo, Tennessee says, government trying to tell us their plans or their latest moves, like leaving the world behind and civil war. Mark, I don't know, man, but it's getting crazier by the day. And then I got a brand spanking new texter, Jim from Gunnersville, Alabama. He says, why is Arab, Alabama called Arab? Because Joseph's son, Stephen Tuttle Thompson, in 1857 was the first settler to build a house on the land that became Arab, and he established the Arab post office, and he submitted the name of his 13-year-old son, Arad, A-R-A-D, for the name of the town, but due to the misreading of the D for a B, the town became Arab. Are you telling me the town is named for a typo? Like nobody could figure out how to change that?
That's crazy if that's true.
You know what? But I think I've heard that before. So all right. Brand spanking new, Jim from Gunnersville. Give that man some applause. You are in the system now. We appreciate you. And I now know that the town of Arab is called what it is because there was a typo, and somebody just screwed up the documents. That's just nuts. All right, listen. What a great day! What a huge day. We talked about election bribes, election laws, and we talked about stuff on the Grand Council. And folks, I'm just going to tell you. Joe Camel and the Drag Queens. If you missed that monologue, you're going to want to hear it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll see you tomorrow.